All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have another banger today. Today's video is about the 3 different types of coaching / done with you offers. And if you didn't know that there was multiple types of coaching and done with you offers, well, now you do. This video is not going to be nearly as long as the one I did for Will, where I went over, for an hour, every single stage we did to scale him to 20, 25K a month. Nonetheless, there's going to be a huge amount of value in this one that I think will definitely shift a lot of perspectives and give you new frames of reference as to how to think about your own coaching or done with you offer. Now, before we do get into the video, I do want to say if you run a coaching business or a done with you offer and you are struggling to get leads, get views on your videos, get sales, conversions, if you want a funnel and conversion mechanism, conversion mechanism built for you, I'll leave a book call link in the description to a consultation call with either myself, Liam, or one of our team members. Worst case scenario, if we determine that we're not a good fit for each other, we just point you in the right direction. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, let's get straight into it. These are the 3 different types of coaching and or done with you business models. There's 3 different types. Generally, they fall into 3 different categories or types. We're going to go over the positives and negatives of each kind, as well as the proper use cases for each one, because there is different types and they each have different, I guess you could say, ways of being delivered to people. And that has a significant correlation between how it's marketed, the kind of people it's marketed to, and the, I guess, niche or category, whether health, wealth, or relationships. There's countless variables that go into how they're each marketed and what their best use cases are. But we'll just start by going straight into it. The first model, and this is the most tried and true model, is the standard coaching model. This is anything, I see this in health, wealth, and relationships. This is, how do I put this? I see this model pretty much everywhere. 95+% of all coaching or done with you offers are the standard coaching model of the tried and true course, community, and coaching calls. That is the most tried and true coaching business model. Now, what does that look like in terms of deliverables and revenue structure? So, as I kind of just went over, the first and usually the most important portion of these models is the course, right? That obviously delivers the information, the basis of coaching in the first place. It is the gigantic information dump that is correlated to the topic or the... It's the most significant deliverable usually in terms of what you actually feel as if you are getting from it, like you are physically receiving or digitally receiving. The next portion, pretty significant, usually my favorite part of the entire, if I ever buy into any of these, is the community aspect. If the culture of the core of the coaching community and the creator that got everyone in is very good, the community is solid. Community is usually the best portion. And the final deliverable usually is the coaching calls. And this is either one-on-one or group coaching. Now, before we get into the revenue, actually, we'll just go into the revenue structure right now just to make it more simple. The revenue structure on these is typically what you generally see is a pricing structure of 3 to we can just say up to 10K. Usually it's lower than that, but a lot of models fall within this realm that do end up being 10K. And that's usually done as a one-time upfront fee. Oh, geez. I did not mean to do that. Hold on. One-time upfront fee. And if need be, it's also relegated into payment plans as well. Now, what are the positives and negatives? We'll go into the positives first. Don't know why that's there. The positives of this model are that you, as the founder or the operator of it, it is extremely low drag once you have all of this built and systemized. Once that is all built and systemized, your onboarding, your sales process, you have the course dialed so that people are actually getting results, the coaching calls, like the mechanism is done in such a way to where people are consistently getting results at the ratio that you're comfortable with. Preferably it's as high as possible, but you do you. It is an extremely low drag mechanism if you really think about it. Because at this point, if this is the entire model, and these are all the deliverables. The second that they purchase, they get the course. So that's a digital deliverable. You give them email access. The community, okay, you just provide access to that. Coaching calls. If it's one-on-one, obviously it becomes less. There is a little bit more drag, or usually significant more drag, but if it's group coaching, that's also access. So this is all just selling access fundamentally, which makes it extremely low drag, extremely low drag, meaning that all you have to focus on is marketing, sales, and then this portion, the coaching calls, right? Now, the negatives of this model, how do I put this? This model has a very large proclivity of providing lackluster results, specifically because you don't have any mechanisms or infrastructure here to guarantee client success. A good example, I'm not going to name anyone specifically, but there was one that my business partner and I, Liam, bought into recently. It was $5K. After the initial buy-in, we got access to all these things. There hasn't been like a single anything to guarantee client success. And obviously, you're buying into a coaching program. You're not supposed to be guaranteed success. However, the more results, this is why it's important for you to consider this when looking at this model. If you can guarantee client success and results, that gives you more results and testimonials to use on your back end for more marketing. The bigger your case study list, the more sales you will get in the future, right? Your conversion rates go up in your funnel and when you close. So it presents a significant disadvantage if people are not getting the results. And if you can't guarantee that they get results, you end up, or if you don't have mechanisms to keep people in, drinking the Kool-Aid and staying engaged with your whole ecosystem here of the course community and coaching calls, what ends up happening is a term we've coined as like drifters. You get drifters where it's like someone that buys in, you just never hear from them again. You never hear from them again after the initial buy-in. So that's obviously a huge fucking problem. Now this can be solved by having like a better culture. Like if you have, I don't even know what you'd call the term, but you have like a lot of even front end culture, like in your content and everything. There's like almost a community building in your comment section and everything of people that resonate with you. The natural engagement level will be higher, but it is advantageous to you if you can implement some sort of infrastructure that keeps people engaged, it keeps people accountable to tasks that they're supposed to perform. And we'll go into the other model that takes care of that later. But revenue structure on this is awesome. I mean, 3 to 10K one-time upfront fees are fantastic. I mean, no one's ever going to say that, 90-95% margin, high ticket close is ever a bad thing. Never. You get them on payment plans, you can. It opens the throttle a little bit if you stick more with payment plans and you lean into that side more. It opens the throttle, allows more people in, but it comes at the cost of, one, if someone's on a payment plan, just fundamentally, they are less likely to get results because they are not as committed. Two is that there's the chance that they just straight up default on the monthly recurring payment. Let's say you have a payment plan of, let's just say $2,000 a month for 3 months, right? You have a ticket of $6K, $2,000 a month. Okay, well, if the person just cancels their card or they don't have money on their card, it's just done. You didn't realize the customer LTV, for those of you that don't know, LTV means lifetime value. The lifetime value was not realized as early as possible. So this model, it goes back to the thing of keeping people accountable, keeping people engaged, keeping people drinking the Kool-Aid. The more you can have them engaged in your ecosystem, the more likely you are to realize the customer LTV as well. So that's another thing to remember. This is why, if you guys saw that the hour-long video I did about the case study with Will, one thing that we changed with him when we were scaling up his fitness coaching, his operation, was that we changed his offer so that instead of doing $200 monthly plans for people, we switched everything to payment in full. Preferably, if someone needs to do a payment plan, I'm not going to tell them not to cash collect. That's stupid. But switching him over to optimizing for $1,500 for 3 months or $3,000 for 6 months. And What that allows you to do is you get people who are more committed, so they're more likely to get results, meaning that you have more testimonials and transformations to share, so you get more customers. And two, you realize the customer LTV immediately up front. So you have more cash in the bank. You have people that are more likely to get results because there's more committed. They are more committed. There's more skin in the game, right? So yeah, that's the basic outline. Good points in summary. It's high speed, low drag, very high probability unless your culture is really strong or unless you start adding infrastructure and making hires like client success managers to make sure that people are staying engaged. The likelihood that people do not get results with this model is definitely lower, if that makes sense. Significantly lower. The next model is the community model or community-oriented model. This one is significantly different. This one is a lot more low touch, a lot less revenue per, unit per customer, but can be effective when done at mass scale. This one's approach, a good example would be something like Hamza's Adonis School, Andrew Tate's Hustler University, things along those lines where it's like low ticket monthly recurring revenue plays. At scale, they're fantastic, but the problem with a lot of these models is that they require mass scale in order to be successful. And what I mean by that is that a good example is like paid Discord communities. So you go into a paid Discord community and there's only 5 people in there and no one's interacting, you're going to cancel. If it has 5,000 people in there and let's say even only 1% of people are interacting, that's still enough of a base where people are like, it's the things are alive in there. You're still going to engage. So these community-oriented ones, the deliverables usually consist of, obviously, a community. In some cases, there is also a course as well. However, it's usually considered, just because the price point on these is a lot lower, the course is not considered the primary source of value, if that makes sense. It depends on the value proposition being told in the front end, but fundamentally, these are usually not course-heavy. These are a lot more like community and, community-oriented. And then usually there is mass group calls / Q and A's. Yeah, A's. So revenue structure, these are usually on a monthly recurring basis. Typically is low. The lowest I've seen is $25 a month up to standard is $100 a month and oh Jesus Christ. And usually there's occasionally in a couple different situations I've seen there is an upfront starter fee, and I'll just put it down first before I get on a tangent. An upfront starter fee anywhere from $200 to $500. Start up fee, and this is monthly recurring revenue. So the idea behind this is that if you have a low monthly recurring revenue fee, you can build a significant MRR stream at the cost of low engagement because people aren't that committed. Less dollars in, the less emotional attachment. The idea behind the startup fee is that it gets people into the idea of like a sunk cost fallacy. Like, oh, I've already paid $500, and let's say it's only $25 after that. The sunk cost fallacy ends up getting people to be like, well, I've already, the $500 is already in. The cost of switching essentially, or just like leaving, is just like, well, fuck, the $500 is already done. So I'm just going to stay on the $25 versus if they pay $25 up front and then it's month 2 and they're like month 2 or month 3 of them being in the community, then they decide they want to leave. It's like whatever. But if they did $500 up front, $25 a month after, that's when they're just not going to churn because they've already essentially paid, what is that, $25 times 4 times 5. So yeah, what is that? Let me do the math off the top of my head. One sec. Just so we can make sure the numbers are absolutely straight. 500 divided by 25. Yeah, they've already paid 20 months up front. Let's just say it's $25 a month. So they've already paid 20 months up front. They're not going to leave. Realistically. It's just like, or I'm just like explaining a lot of like the pricing theory here. Now, the benefits of this, as being the person that's operating this model, extremely high speed, low drag. This is basically all sales. Once you have the community and course, you just interact with the community a couple times a day. You're dropping messages, answering questions, and then you're also doing provided you're doing mass group calls, you do those, let's say they take place once or twice a week. So you do those. And outside of that, it's all sales. It's all just marketing and sales. Frankly, it's just marketing because usually they're just sent to a sales page. So it just becomes all traffic, 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 traffic. Now, the benefit, the positive of this model is that mass scale, low fulfillment. It's low touch fulfillment, meaning you're not like, you don't have to sink your brain into it to give people what they expect out of it, right? The negative of this is that if there's not a significant amount of culture building that's done inside and or before, people just, they don't interact with it and the churn becomes very high. The negatives of this, let me think. Negatives, it also, this is not confidence inspiring to see someone have, if that makes sense. Like, think about, consider this person that's running a paid Discord community as one of your peers in, say, the internet marketing space or whatever, or no matter what space you're in. When you see that they have one of these, it's not very confidence inspiring because it looks like just a capital extraction method. It realistically does. Like, it's not as respectable of a model, if that makes sense. It's basically OnlyFans, but for business and or fitness or whatever else you're doing. It's basically OnlyFans. I'm just being real. Now, yeah, I'm really not a fan of this model. This is like, how do I put this? This is something that should be done at mass scale, if at all. Like, this should, I'm just really not a fan of this model in general. Tried it a couple times. This is something that definitely, like, you need to put a lot of, it's more of a passion project than it is like, it should be considered even like a gigantic business, anything like that. Like, you actually have to care about this, and it's going to take a very long time to build up. It's going to take a very long, I know people who have a couple of these paid communities that are over 100 grand per month, like over 100K per month MRR. And they've taken like over years to build up. So just some things to keep in mind. Next, this is my favorite model, but it is the most complex and requires the most effort. This is the hybrid outcome-based coaching model, or considered done with you hybrid model. This one is more similarly related to this. It's basically like, this is the slow little brother. The standard coaching model is the slow little brother of the done with you hybrid model. The done with you hybrid model is almost like an agency that functions as it's almost more consulting, but there's done for you and like different elements that are provided in order to significantly speed up your time, give you an even greater time collapse result than just the standard coaching model. So the deliverables, I'll explain what these mean momentarily. But the deliverables of this include, obviously, they usually include a course as well. They usually include a community, similar to the standard coaching model, and coaching, son of a bitch, calls. And they usually consist of multiple different coaches in different areas. Typically, not always, but typically. Now, these other two deliverables. A forced deliverable. What does that mean? A forced deliverable, for example, is you give someone ammo and you give, like, you provide the main outcome driver of the offer. Let's just say you're getting someone to your offers, you're getting someone to 10K a month. You give them and you basically do for them the biggest hurdle that they would have to go through themselves. Let's say you paid ads for coaches, for example. It would be like writing the ad for them as an example, right? Like writing the structure of an ad for them. It's like the most complex and most pivotal part of the entire system and like what gets to the outcome. You take care of that for them, and then you give them just as well additional infrastructure so that the other variables and parts and pieces that are correlated to getting the desired outcome are easier to accomplish, and there's more infrastructure built so that there's a like course or modules that explain how to do it, and or like direct, like no, we'll just like help you take care of it. We'll help you take care of this thing, whatever that may be. So basically, imagine it's literally, this model is the smarter, bigger brother of the standard coaching model. It's basically like the coaching model on steroids, where it's like you just speed up the deliverables and the delivery of, or the achievement of the intended outcome much, much, much faster. Revenue structure on these is usually, typically, they are a significantly greater fee, but for obviously like for good reason, obviously. The lowest I've ever seen something like this is 5K. The highest I've seen is 25K. Now these ones, because they're so complex, and they usually these ones tend to be not make money online offers, but like scaling other businesses. This is like a little bit different than like, you know, if we're talking about the three different areas of business where it's health, wealth, relationships. This usually only applies to wealth. Usually, health and relationships, this is too complex. And I mean, like with health and relationships, like the work has to be done by the actual like customer and the client. You just give them directions, so it doesn't even make sense. This is usually like a wealth offer because there's so many complex variables. So the revenue structure here is usually the price point is between 5 and 25K. On average, they tend to be between 10 and 15K. However, the cash collection usually is not a paid in full. It's usually not paid in full, just because the price point is significantly higher. And what's funny about these, a lot of people might go like, "Oh my god, that's like so much fucking money." Actually, it's not. And when I say that, that's not like just some like mindset thing, like, oh, you have to change your mind. You have to think about it like this. If the company that you're paying, because this is not just a normal coaching model, this is like a fucking company. Like there is multiple moving parts here because it's so much more complex and there's so much happening, that if this company is not charging a significant amount, that means they are not reinvesting margin into building out the system further and further. So it's actually, if someone has a complex offer like this and they are not charging a significant amount, you should be very worried. If you were going to buy something from someone that has a complex offer like this and they do not have a at least half decent price point, you should be very worried, because that means that they have nothing to reinvest into the model to get you better results. Remember, the forced deliverable and the additional client infrastructure, that cannot be accomplished without significant margin. So, but these usually are not paid in full. These are usually done on extended payment terms. Usually the payment terms are, I mean, you can, obviously they're not going to say fuck you if you ask them, oh, can I just like pay the whole thing off in full? Obviously they're going to accept that, probably at a discount too. But usually it varies from person to person, but these are usually 20 to 30% down if they have payment plans, or their payment plans are usually 20 to 30% down, and then it's usually sectioned out over the next 6 months to a year on monthly payments. And for good reason too. I mean, a lot of these, because they're make money online offers, you can't, if your offer is to get someone to $10,000 a month, let's say, you can't just charge them 15 grand. That person doesn't have 15 grand. It's stupid. So these are usually done on extended payment terms. Very worth it. These models get people the best results because there's so many moving parts and so many things that are assisted with. Obviously requires, you know, the customer's input and output, but still. Positives and negatives. Positives, as the business owner, usually your confidence in your service is much greater because you know that when you have all these extra moving pieces, you could fucking end up in the hospital and your clients are still going to be getting results because there's so many people that are embedded in this model that are assisting. What else is there? Usually these ones can actually rely on paid ads, usually more significantly than the standard coaching model or the community one. So that's an additional benefit. Let's see what else. It can be low drag if done properly, but these are usually in the range of like 60 to 75% margins, depending on the scale you're operating at. The higher and higher the scale goes, the margin does have to go down because there's more stuff that's being done, like we said before. But in general, these models, the negative being that it's a lot more work and a lot more fucking, it's brain bending, but the client results are so worth it. They are so fucking worth it because it's just like over and over and over and over, you're getting people results. Now, as a comparison, to give you an example, I'll go over the structure of our own program. Ours is similar to this. However, our goal is to make it a full-blown, we want to make it as done for you as possible. So it's like we're a done with you offer, but it's, I'll just fucking explain it. So ASM, for those of you that are watching that don't know, our companies, we scale coaching companies. That's why I'm literally like explaining this so that you understand the different models and you can make the best decision for yourself. But ASM, we scale done with you and coaching offers through organic, and we are introducing paid media as we speak. But our deliverables, for example, are, I guess you could call it like an anti-course, where it's like specific tickers that need to be done on specific timelines. So it's like, it's not even educational. It's like, do this, do this, do this. And the education actually happens here and here. So it's solely an action and task-based done with you portion, because there's some things like that need to be done by you. I literally wouldn't be able to do it for you if I tried. Obviously, we do people's content strategy, funnel, lead gen automations, and we write their ads for them, provided that they actually make the decision to do so, because that is an additional accrued expense. But on our revenue structure is we actually only do payment plans. So it's similar to this, where these are pretty much all done on payment plans anyway, but they prefer PIF. Our case, we only offer the PIF as an incentivization bonus at a 20% total discount off the entire enrollment fee. So, or I guess you could say the service fee. So, just to give you an example of how our model is similar, and you can get some ideas. Ours, I mean, there's so many more things in here, but fundamentally, you get the idea, where ours is very like action based and very mechanical in terms of like someone comes in, they just are ran through the machine so that they can get results as quickly as possible. And then the goal is we've had people that ROI completely within the first week, and they make all their money back literally within 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how quickly they execute. But the idea is that here's a good way of putting it. These two models are much more selling information. These two models, I guess ours is similar to this, but it's a little bit even more complex. These two models are selling infrastructure and implementation at a baseline. Like, there's some implementation aspects, but infrastructure and implementation versus information. You generally, the more you rely on just selling information, the greater the spread will be in your client results. And usually the client results are less, the more do-it-yourself your offer is. So the more yours is like a course and just giving people information, the less consistently people are going to get results. And frankly, they just generally don't. You don't even have a handle on it, usually, if they are or not, because it's just so low touch. But these models are usually much more like it's a machine, it is a mechanism, it is an engine that gets client results, right? Similar to ours, just literally the same thing. It's just an engine. It is a mechanism, an infrastructure that gets people results. In our case, like our offers, we get coaching businesses up to 10 to 30K a month. I mean, our target baseline for every coaching business that we work with is either getting someone up to 20K a month, or if someone comes in and they are already at a certain number, we add 20K per month to whatever they're doing currently. So that's just a general explanation. In the case that you found this valuable, please drop a like on this video. This is going to be probably over 30 minutes long when I film the intro. Just as well, if you do happen to run a coaching business and you either had some questions or you were interested in working with our company, we do fantastic work. If you have not seen it, go watch the hour-long training I did where I explained like step by step how we got Will to over 25K per month, and that was without even touching paid ads. That was just with posting one Instagram and TikTok a day. So if you run a coaching business and you want to see more like specifics about what we do, go watch that video. If you're already like fucking sold, you're like, God damn it, I want to work with this guy. This guy seems like he's the greatest guy on the planet. I love him. I would do anything to be in his program and work with him. Feel free to book a call. I will happily place it as the first link in the description. I hope you guys found this valuable. Have a good rest of your day and make lots of money.